Hey everyone, welcome to Bookends of Recovery. I'm Laura, and I want you to know that sobriety and healing are within your reach. You can make it happen. How do I know? Because I did it, and you can too. Today we're talking about two different things. We're going to talk about urge surfing, and we're going to talk about safe spaces. Urge surfing is a really great tool that you can add to your addiction recovery toolbox. And if you have any kind of trauma, you can add it to there for your healing as well. And then we'll talk about safe spaces, which is just a great setup for you to have for you to do, like, for your recovery and all that kind of stuff. Okay, so let's start with urge surfing. This is a tool for when you have a trigger hit, and urge surfing helps you kind of quote unquote ride out the intensity of the temptation without giving in. And it's also helps us ride out the emotional waves without doing anything impulsively. And it gives us space between emotional responses and our actions. And yes, it is also a little bit uncomfortable to do, but as we go through our recovery and our healing, sometimes we have to do things that are uncomfortable, but it's better than acting out, right? So let's just dive in on how to do urge surfing. So we want to start out by identifying the trigger. And it's not just people, places, or situations, right? It can also be feelings or memories. Because how many times have we thought about when we've been engaging in our DOC, or if you're going through some kind of trauma, you've thought about that. And so it makes you want to do something. So now that you've identified it, and great job, by the way, name it. Remember Dr. Phil saying you got to name it to claim it? That's what you're going to do here. Name the emotion or the urge that you're experiencing. And I'll give you some internet bonus points for saying it out loud to yourself, because when you say things out loud into the universe, you're removing its power. Like, you're not getting paid rent for that thing living rent-free in your head. You're just not. So release it. Get it out. Release that gunk. And here's some examples. Like, I am feeling triggered because I walked past the place that I used to drink. Or seeing that person reminded me of doing drugs. Or I'm feeling overwhelmed after seeing their picture on Instagram. Or I'm pissed off because I drove past their work. Like, whatever it is, throw it out there. Just say it out loud. I mean, like, unless you're sitting at your desk at work or something, but you know what I mean. Like, get it out. Even if you just write it down onto a piece of paper, just get it out of your head and put it somewhere. So after you've done that, you want to do some deep belly breaths. And I know we always talk about the breathing, but we do that because it works. So do some deep belly breaths, the kind that goes all the way down to your belly. And as you're taking in those deep breaths, listen to the air as it whooshes in and out. And if you're not, you're like, I'm really not into, belly breaths, then do some box breathing. But the idea is you want to create a mental space between the trigger and your response. And we do that because it brings you into the present moment. I like to, whenever I do that, I think of like a sink full of water or a bathtub full of water. And you know when you pull the drain up and all that water goes down the drain? Because that mental mess that's in your head when you're triggering, that's all that chaos, right? And when you're releasing all the chaos and just letting it go down the drain, that's what's happening. When you're bringing yourself to the present, you're letting all that shit go down the drain. And it also it's stopping the addiction cycle. You're pulling, I mean, how many times have we talked about the circle of that cycle of the moment? And you're stepping out and giving pause. That fight, flight, freeze, or fawn response when we're in the trauma moment. You're stopping that, you're pausing that. And now you're giving yourself an opportunity to become an observer. So I want you to put those imagination caps on. And rather than focusing on the trigger itself, right, because we're not going to analyze it, I want you to focus on how it's affecting you physically and emotionally. And ask yourself, ask yourself what thoughts are running through your brain right now. Doesn't need to be like super deep, but just, what's running through your head? Is it I need to use, or I'm overthinking, I'm overstimulated? And if you need to, we've talked before about word vomiting, which, is really just brainstorming. It can help to go ahead and write that down. Just take a few moments. If you're really in a mental chaos, go ahead and set that timer and write it down. If 5 minutes is too long for you, set it for 2 minutes or 3 minutes. And write the thoughts that are going through your head. Ask yourself, how does my body feel? What emotions are you feeling and where are you feeling it? Like for me, I tend to feel tension in, of course, my neck and shoulders, but I also feel anger in my, kind of like in my stomach, almost like my stomach goes in knots. But then I feel like I'm going to cry in my neck and in my chest. When I'm anxious, I feel that in my heart goes fast. So what are you feeling? Is your heart racing? Is your chest pounding? Also I tend to clench my jaw. So what are you feeling right now? Just notice what's going on with your body. Because noticing what's going on with your body puts a distance between you and the trigger. And that's the goal. We're trying to create all this space between you and the trigger. And it reminds you that this is just a moment in time versus something that you need to react to. And now, again, remember, we're putting on our imagination caps. Do your best to detach from the trigger by observing it like an outsider. So, I'm experiencing intense hurt right now. Or this fear is making my palms sweat. You want to try to recognize the emotion without fully identifying with it. Almost like you're a bystander to it, or a bird flying above, or a cloud drifting over you. Okay, so I want you to go ahead and keep your imagination caps on, okay? I want you to picture your craving or your emotion like a wave in the ocean. That rhymed. I'm going to say it again. Sorry. I'm easily amused. Picture the craving or the emotion like a wave in the ocean. Okay? Are you seeing it? And then imagine that wave is building up inside you. And then use your mind's eye to see the color of the water and the sea foam. And then, if you like, you can engage your senses and then hear the water and like the seagulls. You can smell the salt air. You can feel the warmth of the sun. You know, the wave inside you represents the craving or the feeling. It will get intense and it will rise high, but then, just like any other wave, it peaks and falls away back into the ocean. Now, see yourself as a surfer. Again, keep your imagination caps on and engage your senses. See the color of your bathing suit and your surfboard, and you're on top of that wave inside you. You're not getting caught up on like the emotions or the cravings, because you know they're temporary and they're going to fall back into the ocean. And you can see yourself riding that wave calmly because you're in control, not the trigger. So be present and be mindful. Continue to be the observer. Remember, it's okay if you're feeling uncomfortable. We talked about feeling tension in your chest, or, if your hands are sweaty, if you're feeling nervous, that's okay. Maybe your breath is like starting to feel rapid again. Go ahead and practice that deep breathing and get it calm. Deep breath in and out. And keep doing that. Deep breath in and out. And it will keep you grounded. That feeling or the urge will pass. Now, I will say it may take a few minutes. The intensity will lessen. Usually it takes a good 5 to 7 minutes for the intensity. And then overall, I'd say about 15 minutes, but you're not going to have to do this for 15 minutes. But the overall intensity will pass in 15 minutes. But the intensity, maybe not even 5 minutes, maybe like 2 to 3 minutes. And if you feel your mind wandering back toward the unhealthy behavior, remind yourself, this too shall pass, and focus on your breathing again. Detach. Remind yourself that the emotion or the urge is not a command to you. You don't have to act on it. What you're feeling doesn't require an immediate response. Like, nobody is telling you what to do. So mentally create a distance between you and the feeling. Like, talk to it. This is tell yourself, like, this is an intense feeling, but it'll pass. I don't need to respond right now. I mean, honestly, I would talk to the addict voice. And I know that I normally don't curse that much on this podcast, but honestly, I would just say, fuck you. That's what I would say. And then I would reshift. And that's what you're going to do now. So you're going to reshift. Once the urge or the emotion has subsided, so that it's not so intense, you're going to reshift your energy, you're going to reshift your focus to something positive. So we want to quickly distract your brain and move it to that healthy pathway. I know you guys, I know I say it like almost every podcast, but that green, lush pathway that's, got the green, healthy, butterfly-filled, flower-filled pathway, right? We're going to go over there. And so that means you're going to do a healthy activity. And I'm not going to go through everything, but, walk, journal, reach out to a trusted friend, go to your healing hive or sobriety circle, exercise, read, walk around your house 5 times, water your plants, do dishes. Whatever will take your mind off of your trigger, do it. All right. Okay, I understand that this can sound like a lot, but it's really not. The intensity only lasts for a few minutes, and the overall part, the urge itself, maybe 15 minutes, but it does lessen as the minutes tick down. And you're disrupting the addiction cycle. So remember, the urge will pass. Like, you are taking charge. You have the power. So don't forget that. You're the one in charge. You got this, okay? And you can practice this technique when you're in a calm state of mind, so that you can access it more quickly when you need it. So yeah, go ahead and practice this. And guess where a great place to practice it is? A safe space. See, I told you I'd get over there. So having a safe space isn't necessary, but it's a really cool thing to have, because this is a perfect place to go when you're experiencing a trigger, or if you want to designate a spot for when you want to work specifically on your recovery or your healing. So the first thing you want to do, obviously, is pick a place. And you don't have to have an extra room. It's okay if you don't. I didn't when I first started my recovery and healing journey. Sometimes we have to be a bit creative. Before I became an empty nester, I had a favorite comfy chair in a quiet spot of my house. I knew someone that used a walk-in closet. Someone else used their bathroom. And someone else I knew used their car. Like, it's whatever works for you. The important thing is that it's quiet, it's peaceful, and you're relatively comfortable. And then, if possible, try to keep it neat, because a lot of times a neat and clean space can help you have a calmer mind. And, if you can, declutter it, because sometimes when you're surrounded by clutter, that can make you feel overwhelmed. And if decluttering makes you feel overwhelmed, then create some SMART goals. If you need help with that, there's worksheets on my website. So just because you don't want to start out with your safe space already feeling overwhelmed. So chunk it down. And if you want to kind of elevate your space, you can make it like a green zone. And by that, I mean just bring in some Mother Nature, because that can help you set the mood. And we do that because a lot of times, like for me, like I said, I didn't have a designated space when I started out. So I love plants. And in the beginning, I didn't have the best of green thumbs. I thought I did because, outside I had great luck. Regular plants, I had some decent luck, but then I tried my hand at succulents and rest in peace, lots of succulents. But I mean, you can bring in fake plants. Sometimes I can't even tell the difference between them. They've come a long way. But, make it yours. Add things that make your heart smile. And that makes you have like a meaningful connection to your safe space. And it can help calm you during those challenging moments. So add things like your favorite pictures or keepsakes. And if your space is not big, that's okay. Just little trinkets. Even if you're having to use like a small space, then put them in your recovery and healing go bag. But if you have an area that's a little bit bigger, this is a great opportunity to create a vision board, or maybe even have like a little whiteboard or a bulletin board or something where you can put your affirmation cards or your favorite lyrics or poems or sayings. And but if you don't have that, then maybe a little spot for like post-it notes or whatever, and then you can change them out periodically. Like the person that used their car, and the person, because this was when I used to do group, the car in the bathroom, they would just put it on their mirror. So and she put it on her dashboard, and so they just changed them out on their post-it notes. And then if you're really creative, you can choose like soothing colors. That doesn't mean repainting like your room or whatever. We don't have to go that crazy, but soothing colors, like when you're picking out plants, you can use pots with like blues and greens, things that promote like calm feelings to help your anxiety. But you want to do things that engage your senses. So you can include things in your go bag that, like aromatherapy. They always talk about like lavender and eucalyptus and chamomile. But if you're someone like me, like, because you can use essential oils or candles. I prefer using things like lotion. That's just because of who I am. But I'm not a fan of lavender and eucalyptus. Well, eucalyptus is okay, but I don't like chamomile. So I lean more towards the sense of smells, the sense of fruits like watermelon and apple. But that's just who I am. I always lean towards softer lighting. But that's because, of my medical history. But and I like to have soft music when I'm working on recovery, even though I'm definitely into into rap music and rock. But go figure. And I love my soft pillows and blankets. And then always have a journal handy, and then like some books for relaxation and dedicated recovery and healing time and stuff like that if you can. I know this is going to sound a little bizarre, but when you have a trigger or if you're anxious or whatever, it makes you sweat. Have a fan over there. Even if it's like one of those hand fans, like put that in your go bag, or if you have space, put it over there. And your safe space can grow and evolve with you. So just use that as an opportunity to, work on your recovery and healing and maintain a schedule for your self-care. If you're working on steps or meditation, boundary work, make it a no social media area or a no email zone or texting or whatever. and practice your grounding techniques or your breath work, and be sure to respect your safe space, enter it with good intentions. And then if it is your special area, ask other people to create it, or enter it with respect. It's not just about your environment, but it's about your mindset too. You're creating peace and comfort. You're learning about emotional sobriety. Like, it's not just about a space, right? It's more than that. It's about learning how to be comfortable in your own brain, if that makes sense. Because a safe space isn't just a spot, right? It's also about you and your mental wellness. So, and what works for one person may not work for another. So make sure it's special to you, your needs, your preferences. Like I said, they always say, well, the smells that calm people, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, that doesn't work for me. So I want fruit. I want fruit smells. So what works for you? As always, if you have any questions, or if you'd like some free downloadable worksheets, or you want to read more about betrayal trauma or recovery, you can read my blog posts. Or if you want resources, I have a whole resource hub. Please visit my website, bookendsofrecovery.com. I'm not sure if you're a first-time visitor, this doesn't affect you, but if you are previous, my website has changed. So links that I've mentioned before in this podcast have changed. So I apologize if they don't work anymore, but now if you go to bookendsofrecovery.com, everything should be fine. But this is Laura, and I am wishing you a beautiful day, because you deserve it, and thank you so much for stopping by.